Hello everybody, how are you doing? Well, we're all on lockdown with our animal family. I got Ricochet here, and over here we've got a big bundle of Kira. Hi mate, you alright? Yes, alright. So it occurred to me that some folks may have some questions about their animals that they'd like some support on, and I'd like to help if I can. So tonight at 6 p.m. on my Instagram stories, I'm going to be answering some questions. Now, there's some things I can't do, so I can't make a specific diagnosis or a specific treatment plan because that would need a veterinary consultation. But if you have some well-being questions like how to cope with joint pain, how to cope with or notice spinal pain, or maybe how is your pet doing with arthritis, things like that, then I will help if I can, and I'll certainly do my best. So I'll see you tonight, 6 p.m. Instagram stories, and in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and give your animals a cuddle from me. Now, quite a lot of you have had questions about your animal's mental well-being during lockdown. I've got a question here from Jane Mannerings on Facebook, who says her dog seems lethargic and bored of the same walks. And Millie Price says, and a fair few others actually, are worried that their pet's separation anxiety is going to become a problem after lockdown is over. You know what, it's a tough one. And I'm certainly not a behaviourist. There are many people who are qualified behaviourists that can answer these questions better than me. With Ricochet and Kira, I try and provide them with a variety of different things to do. So even if I'm on the same walk, and as most of you now know, Ricochet comes out on a walk as well on his lead. Even if I'm on the same walk, I'll use different things to distract them. So I'll use a branch from a tree put in a position where Ricochet can play with it, or I'll show Kira something different on the walk to try and keep them engaged. I think engagement is the key thing. And secondly, with separation anxiety, that's a toughie because I'm lucky enough that I can have Kira and Ricochet with me at work, in my office, at home or in work. But those of you who can't, what I would encourage you to do, I think, is to record stuff for them. Even this, what I'm recording now, Ricochet watches me on the video. So I think that's one thing you can do. And there's cameras that you can look in from remotely into your home, and you can actually interact with your animals that way. I know plenty of people who do that. But I emphasize again, I'm not a behaviorist. And if you guys want this kind of advice, then I'm going to get a good friend of mine who is a behaviorist to come along and chat to you about all of these things. And she and I will bounce off each other and hopefully answer more of your questions. All right? So now, folks, one of my favorite subjects, osteoarthritis. We've had tons of questions about arthritis causing pain and disability in dogs and in cats, which is hardly surprising because half of all dogs and cats are going to get osteoarthritis. We've had a question from Mary O'D, whose 12-year-old dog Poppy has arthritis in her back legs, and she wants to know what to do apart from medication. We've had a question from Eleanor May, who wants to know how she can help her 8-year-old rabbit with osteoarthritis. Now, there's no blanket response to osteoarthritis because it's a complex disease caused by complex things. A lot of people say, oh, my dog might have a bit of arthritis, but the reality is it's an insidious process, and there are many, many possible things that you can do. There's the obvious exercise and weight control and dietary measures, and we could go into that in more detail at some point. There's also nutritional supplements containing chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine, green lip mussel extract, that kind of thing. And again, that's something we can go into in more detail later if you want. But all of these things sometimes just aren't enough. What I do want to emphasize is that surgery is not always the option or best option. And secondly, that arthritis itself is rarely a cause to prompt euthanasia. In my view, because there's lots of different medication options that you can use, given by tablet or injected into the joint. And there's differences between pharmaceutical injections and biological injections. And at some point when we have time, I might do a little tutorial if you guys want on stem cells and platelet-rich plasma and that kind of thing. So I would exhaust all physiotherapy modalities and other modalities, medication, exercise, diet, before you would consider surgery. And then again, probably at another time, because we probably don't have time tonight, we can discuss surgical options: cutting bone to shift weight, partial resurfacing, perhaps total joint replacement. So all of these things have a role to play. And from my point of view, I just want your dog or your cat to be happy. And if I can help do that, then that's what I'm here for. So here's an interesting one. How do I know if I'm overwalking my dog, or will walking too much adversely affect joints? Well, it depends very much on the age of the dog and also the original cause of the joint problem. So for example, younger dogs with developmental elbow disease or hip dysplasia, overwalking can make things worse in the short to medium term. Older dogs that are affected by significant osteoarthritis, then also walking them can flare things up if the walk is too long. But here's the thing: what you really need to understand is that dogs have their own language. They may not speak our language, but they tell you whether they want to go for a walk or not. So you're going to know with an older dog, if they're pulling up after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's too much. And then with a younger dog, of course, the psychological issue is they want to keep running. And so the key is diagnosis. If you notice lameness, pain, swelling, or holding a limb in an abnormal way, then you really should consult your vet. And if there's specific conditions that you'd like me to talk about, like developmental elbow disease or causes of joint pain, then I can certainly do that. So get back to me and we'll deal with that a little more. Having recently become a cat daddy here with Ricochet, this next question rings a bell, and that is, how will slipping kneecaps affect my 6-month-old kitten as he gets older? And certainly if that problem affected Ricochet, I would be concerned. Slipping kneecaps, luxating patellas are graded 1 to 4, and most cats will manage fine with a grade 1. Some of them will manage fine with a grade 2. If it's grade 3 or 4, meaning that it's slipped out a lot of the time and it's difficult to get back in, or it's slipped out all of the time and you can't get it back in, then that's a different kettle of fish, and that will be a surgical intervention probably required. But most of the time we manage this conservatively in very young kittens. So we simply wait, watch and see whether or not they can deal with the slipping kneecap, which is associated with the quadriceps muscle being slightly out of alignment with the long axis, the bone axis of the knee. Point will be difficult to give outside of a veterinary consultation, but in general, we just watch and see in young kittens, and as they evolve, we see whether it impairs their quality of life. And if it does, then we can intervene. So we've had a question here from Chrissy. My boy had an operation for exploded discs 5 years ago. He's now started to walk stiff-legged. I'm sorry to hear that, Chrissy. Remember that we all get old, don't we, Kira? Yes, and we all get stiff as we get older. I've got spinal problems. Kira gets aches and pains as she gets older as well. So the stiffness may not be due to the original disc problem. It could be more stiffness in the spine, or it could be a problem affecting the limbs. It could be an orthopedic problem. So the key thing, if it's causing impairment of quality of life, is to see your vet and get them to sort out whether it's a neurological problem or an orthopedic problem. The thing to remember about discs is they're like jam donuts. They have a fibrous outer ring called the annulus, and they have a pulpy center which has jam in it, and they can either bulge, which is called a protrusion, or leak, which is called an extrusion, and both of them are called slip discs. And when they're operated, they may have different long-term prognoses. So it's important that you understand the difference between a spinal problem and an orthopedic problem, and we got to do the right thing for our friends at the end of the day. So yes, that's right, Kira. So the important thing, Chrissy, is to get some advice on that if it's impairing quality of life, and hopefully you can get that stiffness under control. So as you can see, I'm joined by Ricochet and by Kira here. And the next question is about neurological issues. So I've had a question that says, when a vet says neurological issues, what do they actually mean? Well, neurological to a lot of people suggests, the brain up here. But in real life, the neurological system is the brain, the spinal cord that goes all the way down to the front and back legs, and the nerves that go from the spinal cord all the way down each limb. And in fact, the interface between those nerves and the muscles that they power. So the neurological system is immense. In fact, it's the electrical system that powers the body and that gives us the ability to move and the ability to speak and the ability to do most of the things we do. So neurological is a very broad term, and generally a neurologist will use various tests to determine which area. I've got a lovely question here from Nathan Kyo. Thank you very much, Nathan. What do you think about reptiles and exotics? I want to be an exotic vet when I get older. Well, good for you, Nathan. Amazing. The world needs more people like you, because we got to look after every species on planet Earth. It's really, really important. And we realized that during lockdown more than ever before. Some of the favorite operations I've ever done have been on penguins or chameleon dragons and the like. So I'm a massive, massive advocate for looking after all animals. And Nathan, I'm looking to you for the future, my friend. So go and grab your future right now and look after all those animals. Thanks so much, everybody, for your kindness during this question and answer session tonight. Holly Marie wrote in and asked, how was I doing during lockdown and how my team at Fitzpatrick Referrals are doing? We're doing very well, thank you very much. We've got our animal friends with us, and we're doing as much as we can every day surgically. So if your animal needs attention, we're certainly here for you. The team are very buoyant. We're doing what we love to do, and we're very grateful that you guys love your animals as much as you do. So look after yourself and look after your animals. We'll certainly help you in any way we can. So as you can see, my two very wise colleagues are absolutely exhausted, having answered as many of your questions as we can. Look, it's been our privilege. Thanks so much for taking the time to go online tonight, and it shows just how much you care about your animal friends. It's been my entire pleasure to be here, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. If I can help your animal friends and help you, especially during lockdown, then that's what we must do. We must look after each other like never before. We're all one big family, human and animal. I'll see you very soon.